English vibe. Yeah. Easy English vibe.
Picture this. You're in a glass-walled conference room. The air conditioning is humming, the coffee is lukewarm, and someone in a tailored suit leans forward and says, "Look, we need to leverage our core competencies to really move the needle here. Otherwise, we're just boiling the ocean. Let's circle back on the deliverables by EOD."
I can feel my soul leaving my body just hearing that.
Right? It feels like nonsense. It feels like a secret code designed to say absolutely nothing while sounding incredibly important. But here is the question. Is it just nonsense? Or is there actually a hidden logic to the way the powerful speak?
There is a logic, but you have to distinguish between the two dialects. There is the dialect of the anxious middle manager, which is what you just did. That's the language of covering your tracks. And then there is the dialect of the capital allocator, the billionaire. And that language is completely different. It's sharper, it's more dangerous.
The language of the billionaire. I love that. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today we are doing a forensic analysis of boardroom speak. We are going to deconstruct the jargon, find out where these weird phrases actually come from, because the history is surprisingly wild, and we're going to figure out how the Elon Musks and Warren Buffetts of the world actually communicate.
We're going from synergy to first principles.
Exactly. Let's start with the low-hanging fruit, pun intended, the stuff we hear every day. Move the needle, boil the ocean. Why do we talk like this?
Well, let's look at the history, because it usually starts with something tangible and mechanical. Take move the needle. It's the quintessential corporate cliche for making a difference. But it's not just a random metaphor. It comes from the Industrial Revolution.
Really? Steam engines?
Steam engines and electricity. Think about a pressure gauge on a massive boiler. If you were shoveling coal, you literally had to work hard enough to make the pressure rise and the needle on that gauge physically move. If the needle didn't move, the machine didn't work. It was a binary measurement of effort versus output.
So it was a measure of actual power, and now it's used by a brand manager trying to justify a new logo color.
Precisely. The physicality is gone. And that's the trend with corporate jargon. It takes something visceral and turns it into an abstraction. Another great one is boil the ocean.
Which means attempting the impossible, right? Trying to do too much.
Yes, but the origin is incredible. It's largely attributed to Will Rogers, the American humorist, during World War I. The Allied forces were struggling with German U-boats, submarines sinking their ships. Someone asked Rogers, "How do we stop the U-boats?" And he said, "It's easy. You just boil the ocean."
Boil the ocean.
He said, "You heat up the Atlantic, the water boils, the submarines turn pink and pop to the surface." And when the reporter asked him, "Well, how do we do that?" Rogers replied, "I'm just the idea man. The details are up to you."
That is fantastic. So it started as a joke about the uselessness of big picture consultants who don't know how to execute.
And ironically, it became the favorite phrase of those exact consultants. But Noah, this brings us to the psychological reason why this middle management dialect exists. Why do people say, "Let's circle back," instead of, "I don't know"?
I assume it's insecurity. You don't want to look stupid.
It's deeper than that. It's about diffusing responsibility. If I say, "I think this is a bad idea," that is me, Eloise, taking a stance. If I say, "We need to evaluate the bandwidth regarding this value-add proposition," I have removed myself from the equation. I'm hiding behind the structure of the language. It is, to quote the risk analyst Nassim Taleb, a way of having no skin in the game.
Okay, stop there. Skin in the game. This is the perfect bridge, because this is a phrase that has jumped the fence. You hear middle managers use it, but it's actually a core concept for the billionaire class, right? The Buffetts and the Talebs.
Yes, but they mean something very different by it. To a middle manager, skin in the game just means, are you interested or did you contribute? To a capital allocator, it is a mathematical necessity for trust.
Break that down. Where does it come from?
Warren Buffett popularized it in his fund management days. He wouldn't just take investors' money, he put his own net worth into the fund alongside them. If they lost, he lost. The origin is often linked to gambling, but some linguists actually trace it back to the Merchant of Venice, the literal pound of flesh. It implies that if things go wrong, you bleed.
And that is the distinction you mentioned earlier. The billionaire dialect isn't about hiding, it's about risk.
100%. If you listen to Elon Musk or Charlie Munger or Jeff Bezos, they rarely use words like synergy or circle back. Their language is derived from physics, mathematics, and biology. It's designed to cut through the noise, not create it.
Let's look at Musk. He's famous for this. What is his linguistic signature?
First principles. You will hear him say this constantly. We need to reason from first principles. This isn't just a catchphrase. It's a rejection of reasoning by analogy.
Reasoning by analogy is basically, we should do it this way because that's how GM does it.
Exactly. Batteries are expensive because they've always been expensive. That is reasoning by analogy. Musk's dialect says, no, what are the constituent parts of a battery? Cobalt, nickel, aluminum. What is the spot market price of those elements? It's $80 per kilowatt hour. So why are we paying $600? That gap is the opportunity.
So the language of the billionaire is a language of deconstruction.
It is a language of exposing reality. Another great term in this dialect is unit economics. You hear this in Silicon Valley boardrooms constantly. A middle manager might say, "We're growing fast." A capital allocator asks, "What are the unit economics?" Meaning, if we strip away all the marketing and overhead, does selling one widget actually make money?
It cuts the fluff. It's ruthless.
It has to be. You know who was the master of this ruthless linguistic precision? Charlie Munger.
Warren Buffett's right-hand man. He passed away recently, but his legacy is huge. He had this phrase, invert, always invert.
Yes, this is a mental model. That's another key phrase in this world. Munger didn't try to figure out how to be smart. He tried to figure out how to not be stupid. He inverted the problem. Instead of asking, how do we help this company win, he would ask, what would kill this company, and then avoid doing those things.
It's interesting because that sounds negative, but it's actually just clarifying. It clears the board.
And that is what high-level boardroom English is. It is a tool for clarity in high-stakes environments. When you have $1 billion on the line, you cannot afford synergy. You need to know about asymmetric upside.
Okay, define that one. Asymmetric upside.
It means the potential gain is significantly larger than the potential loss. If I bet $1 to win $100, that is asymmetric upside. If I bet $100 to win $1, that is, well, that's a terrible trade. But people do it all the time in corporate life. They risk their reputation, the 100, to get a tiny pat on the back, the 1.
So when a billionaire says, I'm looking for asymmetry, they're saying, I want to bet where the downside is capped, but the upside is infinite.
Exactly. This leads to the concept of optionality. You hear this from venture capitalists. We want to preserve optionality. It means buying a ticket to the game without committing to a specific outcome yet. It's the opposite of locking it down.
I want to pivot, sorry, I just used a buzzword. I want to switch gears to the emotional side of this, because there is a specific phrase Jeff Bezos uses that I think defines his entire career, the regret minimization framework.
Oh, it's brilliant. And notice he calls it a framework. He doesn't call it a feeling. He creates a mental structure for an emotion. When he was deciding to quit his cushy Wall Street job to start Amazon, he didn't ask, is this risky? He projected himself to age 80 and asked, will I regret not trying this?
He intellectualized his gut instinct.
That is the hallmark of the dialect. You take messy human things, regret, fear, intuition, and you wrap them in a logical framework so you can act on them without feeling irrational. George Soros does this with his concept of reflexivity.
Soros is fascinating because he's a philosopher as much as an investor. What is reflexivity?
So, standard economics says markets are rational. Prices reflect reality. Soros says, no, our perception of the world changes the world. If investors think a company is valuable, they give it money. That money allows the company to improve its product, which actually makes it valuable. The lie becomes the truth. That loop is reflexivity.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, but formalized. When Soros speaks in a boardroom, he isn't talking about PE ratios. He's talking about feedback loops between human fallibility and market reality. It's incredibly abstract, but it made him billions because he saw bubbles before anyone else.
So, if we are listeners trying to upgrade our own operating system, trying to speak a little bit more like a billionaire and less like a middle manager, what do we stop saying and what do we start saying?
Stop saying words that blur the edges. Stop saying synergize, touch base, and empower. They are vague. They hide the truth.
And start saying?
Start using words that describe mechanics and incentives. Ask about the forcing function. That's a great one.
What's a forcing function?
It's a constraint that forces a result. A deadline is a forcing function. Running out of cash is a forcing function. Instead of saying, we need to work harder, say, we need a forcing function to drive this outcome.
That immediately feels more actionable.
Right? Use flywheel. This is huge for Bezos. Don't just say momentum. Momentum can stop. A flywheel is a heavy wheel that takes a lot of energy to start, but once it spins, it stores energy and drives itself. Amazon is a flywheel. Lower prices draw customers, customers draw sellers, sellers increase selection, selection lowers prices. It's a loop.
I like that. It implies a system, not just a moment.
And finally, use the word counterintuitive. The billionaire class is obsessed with things that are true but look false. If you can identify something counterintuitive, like raising prices might actually increase demand because it signals quality, you are speaking their language. You are showing you can see the second-order effects.
Second-order effects. That's another one. Thinking one move ahead.
Thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. First order, if we fire these people, we save money. Second order, if we fire these people, morale crashes and our best engineers leave. Third order, our product quality dips and we lose our market position in 3 years. The middle manager stops at order 1. The CEO lives in order 3.
This has been a deep dive. Oh no, I did it again.
It's okay, Noah. Deep dive is acceptable. It implies going beneath the surface. Just don't tell me you're going to take it offline.
I promise I won't. So the takeaway is, language reflects mindset. If you want to think like a billionaire, you have to stop using the language of safety and start using the language of mechanism, risk, and truth.
Correct. Words are the software the brain runs on. Upgrade the software, upgrade the output.
Eloise, this was fantastic. Thank you for helping us boil this particular ocean.
My pleasure. Let's not circle back on this.
Agreed. Thanks for listening, everyone.